afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. An old favorite returns to Vermont theaters today, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the sequel to the blockbuster 1988 dark comedy about a mischievous spirit, home ownership, and the afterlife. It was partially filmed in Vermont. And like the original, this new film was also shot in the Green Mountains. Both were directed by Tim Burton. Along with Burton, the new film brings back actors from the original. Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, and Michael Keaton as the titular troublemaker reprises their role. Mixed in amongst the living and the dead is a local actor and a familiar face to Channel 3. Tim Kavanaugh is no stranger to the stage or the screen. He was the host and creator of Late Night Saturday, which ran for 3 seasons in the early 2000s. It was co-produced by WCAX and Champlain College. He's acted in several Vermont productions, and last but not least, he worked here at WCAX for 11 years. He appears in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice as a background performer. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Jolie. It's great to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I know, and what an exciting day that the movie comes out today, and we're going to take all the kids to it, which means I have to take a loan out just to get them all to the movie theater.
Very exciting, though.
Yeah.
And so far, the reviews have been really pretty positive.
Really
you must
positive.
like to hear that.
Yeah. I think that this is really going to be a huge blockbuster. I mean, obviously, they're launching it right here at the beginning of September, well ahead of Halloween, which is where the movie takes place. And so I think that they'll see a fantastic run right from the get-go all the way through. There's such a following to this movie. You know, you mentioned the original one, and people just like crave information.
Yeah, a bit of nostalgia before your Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about your career so far, but how long have you been acting?
Well, I've been acting, I'd like to say I've been acting my whole life. I found out in 3rd grade in Mrs. Ledoux's class that I knew how to make my classmates laugh, and even more importantly, I knew how to make my teachers laugh. And I thought, hey, this is kind of fascinating. Like, I think I know what I'm supposed to do. And from that point on, I just wanted to be the class clown, which is what I became. And then I started getting involved in theater in elementary school and junior high school and high school. Won the Dramatic Arts Award in high school, and then came down to college, did more theater, got involved in the local lyric theater group, did a number of shows with them, the Flynn, and then kind of started my segue into independent films. And that's where we are today. Now I'm on blockbuster films.
And so you found your calling from a pretty young age, but how did you book Beetlejuice? Or Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, I should say.
Beetlejuice, right. So I'm signed up with a casting company out of Boston called Boston Casting. How creative. And they reached out to me, and apparently I had a look that they were looking for a certain scene, and reached out and said, you know, we'd like to book you for this and everything. And I'm like reading it, and I'm like, oh my God, they said it's a Vermont film. And then they said, if you do the scenes, you have to also be at wardrobe on this date in Corinth, Vermont. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Beetlejuice they're talking about.
So they didn't tell you up front what the movie was?
No. It was all like
hush hush.
Yeah, but you're like, come on, Corinth, Vermont, filming? Like, what's it going to be? So I instantly said, yep, my calendar's free. I'd be happy to do it. And they signed me right up.
Great, see that? And this is the biggest movie that you've been on so far, but what was it like to be kind of on a big blockbuster Hollywood movie? It
was really unique. You know, this was an outdoor, you know, you're on location for this one. So it was an outdoor set. We're at the house. I'm a funeral mourner in the film, and we're at this reception outside of the house, and on the porch is a lot of the main characters. There's Jenna Ortega, which is her first appearance in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, and Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, and Justin Theroux were all in the scene that I was in. And it was just great being able to interact with them and talk to them. My favorite was Catherine O'Hara, because I've just followed her for years and years and years, and really appreciate you know, her work and what she's accomplished. And she was so friendly to talk to, and you know, you don't get a lot of time because it's like they shoot the scene, then they say, okay, break, and then you're chatting with someone, and they're like, okay, back to places and stuff like that. So it's very regiment. But you know, comparing it to the movie that I was in last year, Sweetwater. You know, that was shot on location out in Burbank, California. And so really different from being inside of a soundstage for my scenes. And then this one is outdoors and on location.
And so you said you were a funeral mourner is the title of your
Yeah, I'm giving it
character.
away. Oh my God, spoiler alert.
But now people will be able to see you when they watch the movie.
Right.
But what can you tell us about your role? Was it pretty much cut and dry?
Yeah, it was really cut and dry. They listed me as a featured extra. I do not have a line in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, but when the opportunity came up, I thought, oh my goodness, the opportunity to work with Tim Burton and his masterful mind, I thought I have to take a shot at this.
Sure.
I can't turn it down, and so I was just lucky that this opportunity came my way for sure.
Absolutely. We've already talked a little bit about the cast, but as I mentioned in the beginning, there are a lot of original people from the first movie reprising their roles.
Yeah.
We also have some new faces, but pretty familiar faces like Willem Dafoe, Danny DeVito, and then of course you already mentioned Jenna Ortega. So did you get to speak with them a lot, or was it a lot of just working together?
Yeah. So Willem and Danny weren't there. They weren't on that shot, and Michael Keaton wasn't on that shot either. So it was just those that I mentioned before, and it was really neat. Jenna is she's just like so focused in her character. It was amazing just to watch her work, and everyone has so much respect for Tim Burton because when he starts calling out like, this is what I need, this is what I want, like people are just like, oh my God, like, and I remember the first time I saw him on set, like he was down the hill a little bit and they had this giant boom camera set up. And I'm in place with a couple of other actresses, and I said, oh, that's Tim Burton over there. I go, oh my God, that's Tim Burton. And they're like, yeah, it's Tim Burton. I'm like, no, you don't understand, that's Tim Burton.
Did you get to interact with him directly at all?
Not really. I mean, he said hi to me, and I said hi back to him, because
Nice.
he'll walk in between, where we were shooting, if he wanted someone placed a certain way and stuff like that. He was so kind, though. And because there was an actor's strike looming, we ended up having to do all of our shooting in one day. We were supposed to shoot for 2 days with this scene, and he said, hey, if it's possible, and if you guys are all up to it, I'd like to keep shooting, and I think we can get everything in the one day, because the strike was happening at midnight that night.
Oh wow, so it was right under the gun.
Yeah, like just barely. And they still had to do the whole town scene, the trick-or-treating scene that they do. Gosh, I'm giving it all away now.
That's okay. People will be able to see it very soon.
Yeah. I'm not giving anything away.
And it was shot in East Corinth, and of course you're from Vermont yourself. So did you have the opportunity to play tour guide at all?
Well, a little bit, But what was really interesting is some of the other extras that they had. Most of them were from the Boston area, because there's a lot of filming activity going on down there because of tax credits and everything. But we had. There was a lot of locals that were part of the scene too, and there was this one guy I was interacting with, and I'm like, oh, so you live in Corinth? He goes, yeah. He goes, see that house over there, that white house? I go, yeah. He goes, that's my house. And I'm like, you're kidding me? That's fantastic. And he goes, yeah, we've been watching this going on, as they've been building the set and stuff like that. And then they asked locals if they would be interested in some different things. And he goes, I can't believe that they picked me for this. So.
Great, that's incredible.
He was a great guy. Yeah, it was really fun.
And usually sets are kind of a closed set, and especially this one, there was a lot of kind of hush hush about what was going on.
Yeah.
Did you have to sign an NDA at all, promising no spoilers?
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't allowed. You're not allowed to take pictures on the set. I took a couple pictures leading up to the set. They were transporting us up the hill to the house. And I took a picture of the house, and we had all walked the set together, the downtown area, which was really fun. And but the house was just so beautiful, and the shot that's on the screen right now, that's the scene that I'm actually in. And I can see me in that scene right there, in that shot. So
nice, something for people to look out for when they're watching tonight.
Yeah, that's the funeral mourning scene. And it's so unique, like so Hollywood and so Tim Burton to actually put a veil over the house, because the house is in mourning because of the loss of its owner and everything. So
yeah, going that extra mile.
Yeah. My biggest concern is, I have some health issues, and I've been battling cancer for 8 years now. I was actually in the hospital up until the day before I was supposed to be there for costume, and I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to get out of the hospital. And finally, I told my team, I'm like, I have to be out by Monday. Like, you have to release me. And they're like, okay, but why? And I said, because I've been cast in Beetlejuice. And they're like, why didn't you tell us that before? So I got out, and then of course we had that horrible flood that took place the day before I was supposed to be there. So to drive from Burlington across the state to East Corinth was not an easy challenge. It was not easy because there were so many roads that were closed. But
absolutely, but you made it.
I made it.
Yeah,
I made
definitely
it.
an uphill battle, but
Yeah.
it was worth it.
I called the producer and said, I'm never going to make my call time for costume just because there's a lot of road closures. And they said, everyone's got the same problem. Don't worry. Just get here when you get here, and we'll take care of you.
Great. I'm
So
glad
that
it
was
worked out.
fantastic. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this, of course, isn't your first time. The movie wasn't your first time on camera. So how does this production compare to even your time doing late night on WCAX?
You know, that's a great question because there is definite differences. You know, you're basically on a Hollywood set, so these are all like not that there aren't professionals in what I've done in the past, but it was volunteers. With Late Night Saturday, it was all volunteers, and we had people from here at Channel 3 where I work that were a part of it. There was people from Champlain College. There was just people that were interested in the industry, and we were all learning as we did this. On Beetlejuice, and then Sweetwater, the film I was in last year, you know, it's like everybody knows their job. And one of the most unique things I think that I love about being on set is that sense of community. Because all of a sudden, you're all working towards the same goal. And everyone is just so friendly. And like, if you've got a question, they're like, that's not my field, but let me grab this person and bring them over. They'll explain the whole thing to you. So to be on the set of, you know, a big production like this is really unique.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to watch it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
You must be so excited to
I'm
go
very
see
excited.
it tonight.
Yeah.
All right. And Beetlejuice comes out today, September 6th. You can check your local theater listings, and we'll see you at the movies. That takes care of our program for today. My thanks to the ghouls and gals behind the scenes here at WCAX who make our visits possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.